Hey, I'm TM, and this is Animal Man by Jeff Lemire, and you're watching Comic Addicts with SFon82.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Comic Book Addicts. This is episode 51, and it's Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, um, a day to remember his contributions while he was here. But yeah, it's Monday, a snowy Monday here in Chattanooga. I'm currently snowed in. I left work about 4 o'clock and I barely made it home, but I made it here, and as of right now, I'm currently snowed in, which we never get snow here in Chattanooga. So I'm kind of excited about it. I thought that it's pretty cool. I'm off work anyways tomorrow, so I'm going to get out in the snow and have some fun. But anyways, hope everybody's doing well. Let's see who we have in the chat. Uh, Monday also means the Monday night lineup, and Izzy just went with his comic book weekly pull list. And if you've never checked that out before, it's where he runs through the hot 10 picks, comic book picks for the week, the hot 10 list. I guess is a better way of saying it. But he goes through and tells you if there are books that you should wait on, or if it's something you should scoop up now. And let's see what we got in the chat. We got John, our guest for tonight. John's Comics with Kids. He says, "Let's go." Super excited to have him tonight. We have Las Cruces. He says, "Hooray and woohoo." What's going on, Las Cruces in New Mexico? Also says hello from New Mexico. I hope you're doing well, man. Thanks for coming out. We got Unruly Simeon. What's going on? Welcome. Glad you could make it. I hope you're doing well. We have Cliff on comics. He says, "Woo." What's going on, Cliff? We have Marcus, my brother, my comic book brother. He says the dad bod revolution will be televised. Let's see. We got Cliff. What a revolution that might be. Immortal Biggie Shack. What's going on, man? Glad to make it, Biggie. Hope you're doing well. Did you get any snow out there where you are, Biggie? Like I was saying before, I'm currently snowed in here in Tennessee. So what's up, Trev? Happy Monday, man. Yeah, happy Monday. Let's see. We got Bronze Page Comics says, "Hey, Scott." Well, hey, how you doing? Glad you could make it. We got Mike, my homie Mike, Evils Comics. He says, "Hey, Scotty," and "Hey, John." What's going on, Mike? I hope that you're doing well this evening, man. We got Bleecker, newly monetized Bleecker Street, I believe. Congratulations on that. He says, "What's good, nerd holes?" What's up, Bleecker? If you guys have never checked out his church with Reverend Bleecker, he does that every Sunday morning. But definitely check that out. It's a fun community hangout. Let's see. We got TJ. What's up, TJ? How much snow did we get? A good couple of inches right now. Probably, I think we're currently at like 3 inches, which is a lot for us. And I live on a mountain, so you have to go up this huge hill and then down a hill to get to my house. So there's pretty much no getting out of my driveway right now. It's really just the ice more than anything. Um, 2.5 feet. Yeah, we're nothing close to that, but also like we're not prepared for that here. Where you guys get that a lot out there. But yeah, we're totally unprepared. It's total chaos when we get snow in Chattanooga. Let's see, Mike's trying to make sure I'm not missing anybody. But anyways, I was talking about the Monday night lineup, and Izzy kicked it off with his comic book weekly pull list. And then after that, you're here with us, Comic Book Addicts, at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time every Monday. And I wanted to actually run over the schedule really quick with you guys because we got a good schedule coming up. Next week, we have Rob's Fat Stacks will be in the house. He will be hanging out with us. He is one of the guys behind C3 and has an amazing collection, just an amazing collection of slabs. He does only slabs every Saturday. Really cool guy. Can't wait to talk to Rob, but he will be on next Monday. And January 29th, we will have CJ Comic Journey. February 5th, we will have economics and comics. So that's going to be awesome. Can't wait to talk to that guy. February 12th, we'll have Beckerman, a legend in this community. Can't wait to talk to Beckerman and have him on. February 19th, we'll have Brian Silverbaugh. Amazing artwork. This guy does some outstanding art. If you've never checked it out, go check out his IG. February 26th, we will have Spine Ticks. That's going to be a really fun one. March 4th, the guest March 4th, Morpheus Multiverse. If you've never heard of this guy, he does some amazing motivational speeches and stuff like that on his IG. Just a lot of really good motivational stuff. And I wanted to have him on and talk to him because he's seemed like a super smart, intelligent guy. I just wanted to hear what he had to say on things. That's going to be a good one, though. March 11th, Chris and Ralph Productions. These guys do a lot of film reviews, like Hot 10 lists and things like that, having to do with films and movie reviews. And Chris is a really good guy. I can't wait to have him on Comic Book Addicts. March 18th, another legend in this community, K-Pop Junkie. Can't wait to have her on. We got just a bunch of good shows coming up, and I wanted to make sure to run through that with you guys really quick. After the show tonight on Between the Lines, it's going to be on Roscoe's channel, Geek Out with Roscoe, and him and Travis are going to have special guest Chalk Girl. So that's going to be a cool one. Can't wait to check it out. And it's 8:35 p.m. Eastern time on Roscoe's channel tonight. And then at 9, you got 22 Comics with his top 10 alternatives. And I really like 22's live stream. If you've never checked it out, he takes the hot 10 list that like Izzy would run through, and he gives you his alternatives to each one of the picks. And they're really creative picks. I love some of the stuff that he comes up with. And if you've never checked it out, it's just a really good live stream. But he does that every Monday at 9 p.m. Then you got Cupo Comics at 10 p.m. Eastern time. And you got Carlos Collects at 11. You just got good comic book live streams running all through the night. So be sure to check those guys out. Yeah, 22 stream is really dope. It's definitely one of my favorites. It's very creative. He comes up with 10 really good picks every single week. So it's good stuff. But anyways, let's bring out the guests. We have a really good guest tonight. My guest this evening is not only a respected member of this comic book community, but he is also a teacher, loving father, and passionate collector and reader, which he shares with us on his awesome YouTube channel and IG, appropriately titled John's Comics with Kids. This guy has quite the collection, and he's been someone who I've wanted to have on for a while now. So let's get him out here. Y'all help me welcome John from John's Comics with Kids.
Hey,
what's up, John?
How's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
I thank you for those kind words. The only word I would contend is respected. I don't know. Let's not inflate the ego too much. But man, thanks for having me. This show is a whole lot of fun. I love shows like this where you get to know the people behind the collections and the channels. And I think it's a great opportunity to humanize some of the the silly comic talk stuff we do.
Yeah, man. I like finding out what got people collecting and what it was that pulled them in. Just little things like that. I love hearing old memories, old childhood memories
for sure
involving comic books. It's just some of my favorite things to talk about. So
absolutely.
But how are you, man? How you doing?
Busy. I was saying before we went live, it's been, I almost need to rename my channel now, John's Comics with Teens. Everything is around kids and, club soccer and club volleyball. And so this weekend we had 4 soccer games. Last weekend it was, I think, 4 soccer games and 6 volleyball games. And, so it's been a lot of sports. So I'm sorry for the irregularity on my channel for people that are used to me doing Saturday morning shows. It's been hard to get live with the kids at their games.
Yeah, man, that's pretty hectic. It sounds like that's a lot of games.
It's a lot, but they're really into it, and it's fun to see their enthusiasm.
Yeah, of course. Where are you from? Where are you based out of?
I am. So you got Rob next week. You got the California contingent going this next couple episodes. I am pretty deep South California. I'm about 2 hours from Mexico, so I'm very
Oh,
very
man.
far south. About an
Okay.
hour and a half from Comic-Con in San Diego. So I'm almost directly in between LA and San Diego, right along the coast there.
Very cool. Very cool. I've never been that far out. I've never been that far west before. So I don't know what life is like out that way.
I mean, I know California gets its fair share of comedy directed its way. It is an oddity, but it's all I've ever really known is this culture of being outdoors and surfing and skiing and hiking and climbing, and it's never been kind of what what the brochures might tell you. But I think it's always been a real beautiful place to grow up.
Nice. Nice. Well, I wanted to get your origin story, man. I wanted to know what was your introduction to comic books. Around what age did you get into comic books?
So I was trying to chart the actual year that I recall getting some of those early comics. I'm fairly sure we're talking about 1986, somewhere in the mid 80s was when I really got into it.
Okay.
Uh, which is partly probably why I love Secret Wars so much. That was what, 84, 85.
Yeah.
And I had all those action figures before I read the comics much. I had they had a really great line. I don't know if you remember, of the action figures for Secret Wars.
Oh, I do.
Uh,
I remember them.
so cool.
Yeah, they
And I
were very
had
cool.
pretty much all of them. And they were really sturdy. They survived all the way into adulthood. I would still find, oh, look, there's Dr. Doom over there, or there's, Black Suit Spider-Man over here, whatever. Um, I distinctly remember, and I've mentioned this a few times, but going to my grandmother's in Arizona was always the opportunity to buy a ton of comics. And that was my favorite part. So we would go usually once in the summer and once around Christmas.
Yeah.
And she had a place in Phoenix, but she had a little cabin up in the mountains in Pine Top, Arizona, which is very much like you'd imagine a ski town kind of a place. And they have bears and stuff. But they had a Circle K walking distance from her, and they had a spinner rack. And if I was lucky during the trip that I went, they would restock one time while I was there. So I could get a couple of books early in the trip and then go back with all new titles and grab some second runs,
Awesome. That's cool.
So I'd probably, if I asked my mom, she'd probably say I asked every single day to go, give me a couple dollars, let me run down there, and get a couple books.
Do you remember what some of the first books were that actually kind of pulled you in?
I do. I got one here for you. I busted one out for you, and I teased it on my I teased it on my Instagram as saying does anybody know what this book is? So we got Incredible Hulk and Wolverine. This is a one issue. I don't know why they called it issue number 1 because there is no number 2, but it's a wraparound cover. So
that's sweet.
You got Wendigo here on the back. This was 1986. I don't know if anybody in your chat. I used to have 2 of these, but I think I gave one away. So I don't know if anybody in your chat knows this book, but I definitely had a copy of this that I read to shreds, until it just fell apart. It even included in the back a little the evolution of the character Wolverine, so you could kind of learn. Yeah, it was kind of Marvel Universe books. You could read his history right at the back.
I love those, man. I love those so much. Anything that had the facts or anything like that you could compare to other characters and stuff. Right? I love that kind of stuff.
For sure. And it had the original costume with the whiskers, the whiskers on the mask, and the shorter horns, on the side of his head. And it even included some of the Byrne stuff, the key issues from the early appearances in Uncanny. Yes, there it is. Side Quest. That was my first reprint too. So those that don't know, this reprinted 180, 181, and I think it even gave you the end of the encounter in 182, which is one panel or one page.
Oh, that's very cool.
So it's technically the first time the story, the Hulk 181, whatever, was reprinted. So So it was 86, and they put together a slightly larger sized comic to give you all of the story from the Hulk issues, but then at the end, they gave you some additional material and some, backstory on who Wolverine is. And
That
I
is pretty
definitely
cool.
remember reading this a ton.
It's a sick wraparound too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do not have that. I've never seen that before. That's
You
awesome.
can still find these on eBay dirt cheap. Like if there's anybody out there who's like, oh, I really want to read those Hulk issues, which are really entertaining. It's a really good Wendigo story for those that don't know it.
Yeah.
And it was the only way I was going to ever be able to read it. And so for me, like it got me hooked on this character who, as a 9-year-old, 8-year-old boy, it was like, this is a really violent comic. I'm in. Like, let's see this guy with these claws just killing people. I was all in it. So that was like a book that I know was early and sort of like hooking me in on Marvel, certainly, but comics in general.
Very cool. We have a what's the first appearance, John? 180 or 181?
The debate.
We have
debate is happening. This is the only one I can afford, so I'm gonna say it's this one.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
I got that one in early 2000, like 2020, I think, early 2020.
What's up, Mark? Welcome.
Mark, what's going on, man? I know he's a big Hulk fan, so I know he knows those stories as really good Wendigo stories, that 180, 181.
Yeah, that's awesome. So did you like me? Did you end up growing out of comic books and kind of coming back to it at a certain point, or have you always collected? Or
I think there's definitely a time when we all kind of hit that spot of like, books are great, but girls are better, kind of a thing, right? It's just like, now we're teenagers and we're playing sports and we're, we have social lives and all these kind of things. So I moved out of it a little bit. I was busy doing high school stuff, but somewhere in college, I started coming back around to it a little bit. And maybe it's because I had a job as a senior in high school. I started having a full-time job, and then I've had a job ever since. All through college, I worked. So I started having my own money, and that's when it starts to be like, hey, maybe I can get some of those books I always wanted. For me, it was definitely Uncanny 94. The first time Claremont writes the new team was like the book. And it was my first big eBay purchase in like probably the late 90s, like 99 or something. I was like, that book, that's my first big purchase.
Man.
And at the time it was probably like $80, but it was like, it seemed like a ton of money to spend on a comic book.
Yeah. No, that's a very cool first purchase. That's really cool. So Marvel, I was going to ask you Marvel or DC, but pretty safe to say Marvel, more on the Marvel side.
I think it's just what I grew up with. And so I think I would say of my collection, it's probably like 70-30, mostly Marvel. If it was just the Marvel DC stuff. But I as I fell in love with the X-Men universe, the Teen Titans parallels it really, really well. So if you are at all a big X-Men fan and you've never tried the new Teen Titans, like the Wolfman Perez era of new Teen Titans is Colossus, I agree, is the bomb. And so for me, like it wasn't long before I discovered, and I always thought Batman and Robin were cool. So Robin is now leading a team. I'm like, this is cool. The ladies are gorgeous. Like, let's do this. Let's check this book out. So I definitely found the new Teen Titans pretty early as well, but never really got as into them until adulthood.
Okay. What are some of your favorite characters?
Well, I mean, she's on your background here. She's the queen. She's the goddess. I always liked Storm because I mean, something about her as a leader I found compelling. I was a big like Pam Grier fan as a kid. Like I had seen a bunch of her movies and thought Pam Grier was amazing. And this was like the comic book version of Pam Grier. Like if there was a way to cast Pam Grier like in a time machine as Storm, that was the one. So
Yeah.
I just thought she had that same gravitas. And then I remember reading issue 201 where she beats Cyclops in the danger room to become the leader, and she doesn't even have powers. And I was like, this girl's a badass. Like, that's cool. Like, she's
That is,
powerless, but she's just so skilled. She can still defeat Cyclops head to head in the danger room.
yeah, that's pretty sweet.
So good.
Um,
Mark, I am a Mohawk fan, but I like that punk era of Storm, and I read those books first, so I was biased. But I have no problem with any era. They're
I
all
was
good.
I was actually going to ask you which was your favorite. Do you have any particular favorite storylines involving Storm?
There's a lot of really good ones. If you want like early X-Men, I love there's a 2-issue story with Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy at the Cassidy Castle in Scotland and or Ireland. Sorry, is he Scottish or Irish? Oh, geez, I just blew it. Cassidy's Irish, and it's this Irish castle, and Black Tom and Juggernaut are capturing everybody, and Storm has this meltdown because it's revealed that she was, trapped under rubble at one point in her life and has claustrophobia, like really intense, extreme claustrophobia. This is issue 102 and 103 from the early Uncanny run.
Oh, okay.
And really great stuff. I mean, the artwork is phenomenal. It's Cockrum just slaying, and a really, really good story. Just before Byrne shows up, really great stuff. If you want something a little later, I really thought Planet Size X-Men from a couple of years ago bled into the Sword comic book by Al Ewing was phenomenal. And you get to see her colonize Mars, and you get to see her throwing down with Dr. Doom. There's great stuff with her and Doom that I always love whenever the two of them are together.
How do you feel about Storm, like currently in the storylines?
They've given her a lot to do. My one critique is I don't think they're giving her, and this is just a writer thing, I think good characters have a combination of internal struggles and external problems, right? And I think they have not given her enough internal struggle. I was really hopeful that before she split with T'Challa that she was going to get pregnant and have a kid. I was really hoping that we were going to get the Black Panther Storm child, and we're going to see this new phase in her life, which is motherhood, which I think would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Sadly, that I think Marvel's probably still a little too scared of what that would mean for their sales. Pregnant character, does that character sell, right?
Okay.
But instead, the struggles have all been kind of external, which is certainly very entertaining. You get to see a lot of more fights and explosions and things. But I love a good internal struggle. So for me, like the issues when she loses her powers, Forge creates a gun, for those that don't remember, and they blast her with it. This is before Forge was an X-Man. And then you have these great issues like Barry Windsor Smith did Life Death, these great, amazingly drawn stories where she's facing her fears of who is she if she doesn't have her powers. Really great stuff. So that, again, is that early 80s, mid 80s era that I think has some great stuff for her.
Have you been reading the current X-Men stuff? Have you read the latest that Rise of Rise of the Powers?
Rise of the Powers of 10. Yeah.
Yeah, of 10. I'm sorry.
No. Hey, it's these things are complicated. I saw a funny meme all about like, how do you pronounce these things?
Yeah, it is the most complicated thing I've tried to read in a long time. Like I couldn't make any sense of that issue.
So
I really couldn't.
What I would say is you're not alone, and that you shouldn't feel discouraged. It's all based. Ultimately, what I think they're trying to do is create the companion volume to what Hickman did in the House and Powers original 12-issue series, or 10. Is it 10 issues? When he launched his rebranding or whatever of X-Men, he kind of wanted to create these two plot lines. One main one here in the present with all your characters exactly as you know them now. And then the other one was called Powers of 10. and he wanted to look into the far future and imagine what it was going to be like. And so Powers of 10, he looked 10 years into the future. I think it was 100 years into the future, and then 1,000 years into the future. And the challenge for the reader was understanding what was going on as it was skipping around between all these things. And what it would show you is the letter X, meaning right now, and then X to the power of 10, or X to the power of 100, or X to the power of 1,000. And you'd kind of extrapolate, oh, this is 1,000 years later, or 100 years later, or 10 years later. And you were seeing ultimately what happens with these Sentinels and with Nimrod and all these evil villains that seem to be like Terminators and outliving our characters. But it's incredibly complicated stuff because you're looking at alien technologies and all your main characters are gone. So it's a bunch of new characters that you're not familiar with. So I totally understand. You're not alone. Definitely not the only one who's confused by it.
It's been hard. I'm trying my best to follow it, but I'm having a hard time with it currently.
I'm assuming it'll be better read as one volume when you can keep track of it, not have to wait month to month for some of this.
Maybe so.
But they're doing the same thing because they've got Fall of the House of X, which is the current storyline with our characters right now, and then they're doing this Rise of the Powers of 10, which is kind of like jumping to Hickman's will this future actually happen, and will all of our characters be wiped away?
Okay. Now, how do you, as far as you're collecting, like how do you go? Let's see, what's the best way to ask this? Do you do new comic? Do you do new comic book day every week? Do you pick up new stuff weekly, or how do you collect? Do you go more for the older stuff, or
it's definitely a mix. Yeah, it's definitely a mix for sure. And my collecting has changed. I think like all of us, our collecting evolves and changes through our lives, right? The stuff I was collecting when I was younger versus now, it's all very different. And my goals for this year are to change a ton. I really want to control what I'm buying and make better buying choices and focus more on the reading and make that my main focus with what I'm picking up. Last year I was getting about 4. I think I was limiting myself to about 4 books a week. I was not getting a ton of new issues, but about 4 a week.
Okay.
This next year, my goal is to go down to 8 a month. So meaning 2 a week. I'm just shrinking. I'm reading a bunch digitally, and I have like the Marvel app and some of those options to read things digitally just because I want to keep up on stories and know kind of what's going on. But I prefer reading in collected editions. So I'm buying a lot more omnis. I'm buying a lot more hardcovers and collected editions where I like Mark just mentioned the Human Target, a great series that I loved, but I did not buy a single one of the single issues. I read it all in these hardcovers, the beautiful artwork by Greg Smallwood. I read it all in hardcovers and they were phenomenal. It was a great way to read that series. The artwork's beautiful. I'm sure I would love the single issues, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this in solid chunks instead.
It's really fun. Like a buddy of mine gave me Age of Apocalypse omnibus last week, and I dove into it. I've been reading it, and man, it's just so much fun diving into a nice omnibus and just, I don't know, man. I like it. I'm enjoying the experience. I think after I read this one, I may go and get something else, but I don't know. I've never bought omnibuses before, so I didn't know.
I mean, they're certainly unwieldy, and the biggest one I have is the Immortal Hulk one they dropped this last year, and it is like 60 something comics. It's a big book. It's awkward and challenging to read a book that big. My preference for size is probably like they did for Human Target, which is like a 6-issue hardcover. It's really nice. But not every story gets produced in the format you really love. Right. Deadly Class, Image does those large, oversized hardcovers of like one story arc. So it's like 12 issues or something, but it's like bigger format. It's like almost like a poster size. It's really like cool.
A legendary edition or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do any do you go out hunting in bins, or do you do any online hunting or anything like that?
It all varies on availability, right? When my buddies come to town or when people are free, I love to go to the shops. I have a great local comic shop that's like 10 minutes drive for me, but there's a ton of options around for shops. So whenever I have a friend come to town that's a comic hunter and wants to hit up shops, it's great. You can spend the day and just hit a ton of shops in and around the area.
Yeah, I was
So
going to ask
I
you,
love
like,
that.
what are the spots? What are the spots to hit in your area? What are all?
Well,
don't give
so-
up your honey holes or anything. But
I love my LCS, and so nuclear comics is my LCS, and they have two shops. They got one down by San Diego, which is fantastic, but mine is the 10 minutes away from me one right here. And they're great. They got a ton of wall books, but they're packed with trades, hardcovers, all the new books, all the indie titles. If you're an indie comic reader, I love that they have massive selection, everything under the sun. So they really try to be as up to date on the newest stuff as possible. They don't have as many back issue bins. If you're just a bin diver and you only want old stuff, it might not be the best shop for you. But I love Nuclear Comics. They're my favorite. And Kenny, he's been my LCS owner, God, I think basically since I've basically started having kids. So probably for 15 years, maybe. I've been going to his LCS. He's amazing. Oh, did I freeze? Oh, hopefully
that's pretty
we okay? Scotty's freezing up on me. I think it's Scotty. Hopefully it's not me.
I freeze up.
Did I freeze or you freeze? We're freezing.
No, I froze up. Am I back? I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. I hear you.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that, man.
No worries, man. You're dealing with like storms and blizzards and stuff.
Well, you were talking about indie books a second ago. What are some of the indie titles? I see you cover like a lot of stuff, a lot of different comic books on your Instagram. And what are some of the better indie books that you've read recently?
I mean, my favorite indie writers of the day, or like that are working right now, probably are Jeff Lemire and Rick Remender, and pretty much anything those guys make, I'm gonna probably give it a shot and check it out. Rick Remender's got a new series called The Sacrificers that I just absolutely love. It's just dropped a new issue last week, I think. And then he finished Deadly Class in 2022. Great book. For Lemire, I've read all of Black Hammer, and I just love that series. It's so good. I've read all of Descender and Ascender are phenomenal books by Lemire. I just absolutely love. I love sci-fi, so give me the robots and the spaceships and all that kind of stuff. I'm digging it.
Awesome. There's been a lot of good indie books,
yes,
like over the past year, and
Donnie Mastodon, he's joking. We went to Baltimore. I went to Baltimore Comic-Con with him in God, has it been 3 years or so, Donnie? Holy crap, I think it's been 3.5 years. But we all went out. There's a huge group of us that went out and did drunk karaoke at this bar nearby. It was wild. It was hilarious. But my favorite moment, was probably White Whale Comics when he got up there, because he just started belting. I think it was Black Sabbath or something. He just went nuts. It was hilarious. I was all about it. I don't remember, Donnie. You and I didn't sing though. I think Donnie and I were just getting drunk. That Donnie and I were having some whiskey, and then the Great Legend was there. Legend. I don't think Legend sang though. Oh, was it Iron Maiden? Okay, Donnie. I've got the video on my phone still of White Whale Comics singing that Iron Maiden song. Yeah, it's funny. He's just not the guy that is like, he's not super outgoing. He seems kind of shy and reserved, and then he gets up there and he's just belting this Iron Maiden song, and he's just going for it. It was hilarious. I thought he was taking a long hit of the vape. I mean, hey, everybody. Oh no, you guys are in deep weeds now. He just lost his internet. his internet just crashed. So I'm just going to answer questions in the chat. You guys ask whatever you want. In fact, I'm going to scroll up and see if I missed any questions. Poor guy. I mean, he's got several feet of snow to be dealing with. John, did you read Days of Future Past Doomsday? Says Colossus Collector. I did not read that. Was it any good? That sounds like something kind of recent. I don't think I read that one. Usually if it's like a spin-off from the main title, I'm not reading a lot of the like the throwback titles. I'm not reading as much of that. Callie saying, what's the worst X-Men story ever? That's a great question. Oh man, that's a phenomenal question. Worst is such a big, that is a big, bold statement. I mean, does Power Pack, can I just label Power Pack as an idea? I know they always showed up in X-Men stories. I don't know if Power Pack would count.
Man, this weather.
I know, it's all right. I was trying to determine Matt's question. Callie's asking, what's the worst X-Men story ever? Damn, that is rough. Man. I don't like X-Man from the Age of Apocalypse story. Any of the X-Man stuff, not a big fan of that one.
I'm actually reading that right now. I read a couple of issues of X-Men because it's part of that, and it was okay.
I don't mind the tie-in stuff, but like as far as its own thing, I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I'm gonna run. I promised to answer a couple of questions.
No, go right ahead, please.
Mark was saying, what's the most anticipated DC? I will say the best Marvel or DC title that I'm reading right now is probably Birds of Prey. I think that book is criminally under talked about. It's a DC title. I'm not even a Harley Quinn fan, but it's great. It's a great it's like one of the most entertaining books every time when I pick it up. So loved it. Absolutely loved it. And Seth, my holy grail is probably an X-Men 1, the original X-Men 1, but that's pretty far off. I don't know that I'm going to snag that. Marvel character, and why is it Spider-Man? Asks Brian. Brian, hilarious. and Rob, I was going to try not to be too grouchy about the new Ultimate Spider-Man. I did not care for that issue 1. I think I'm the only person that didn't absolutely love it though. So don't take my word. I hear everybody else loves Ultimate Spider-Man, and I'm probably the only one that felt like it was just average. I would give it like a 7 out of 10. I don't think it's bad. Like that's a good grade if you think about it. I mean,
yeah, that's not bad.
It's not a bad grade. I just was kind of bored with it. I didn't think it was all that and a bag of chips like a lot of people did. Well, I know you cover Mark. I know you cover Birds of Prey, but not most people aren't covering Birds of Prey. You're above average, sir. You're above average.
Yeah, I'm not reading it. I didn't know it was that good. I'll have to check it out.
If you like Wonder Woman at all, she's got a great storyline. If you like Black Canary is a great character. She's got a great storyline. But for me, I'm a big Barda fan, and they've got like a full issue, just Big Barda versus Wonder Woman, and just take my money, man. Take my money all day.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm all about the Barda. That was what made me pay for the first issue. Somebody said, "Oh, this first issue is great," and I was like, "Yeah, but it's Harley Quinn. I'm not a big Harley fan." They're like, "But Big Barda's in it." And I was like, "Dang it!"
Yeah, I tried the Harley run for a little bit, and I didn't care for it. I didn't really like the interior artwork on it too much, but
the interior on Birds of Prey is phenomenal. That's one of my favorite things about it. Is it has this great retro style that I really dig. Yeah, it is. It's sold out everywhere. People going crazy. People paying $30 for this book. Don't be stupid, folks. Wait. There's no need. There's no need. Wait. Pump the brakes. Read it digitally, and then in a couple of months decide, because it'll be back to cover price before you know it.
What are some books that are on your list to pick up this year? What's on your personal grill?
I got 4 books that are like top of the list for me because I'm trying to finish off 2 runs currently. So I need if I can get 3 issues of the original Avengers run, I will have got 1 through 20 done.
Sweet. Wow.
Yeah. I need issue 3, which is the only one of the single digit issues I need. And then I need issues. I think it's 15 and 18, I think. Uh, None of them are
Wow.
keys or anything like that. I'm not a grade snob, so I'm not really hunting for anything in particular as far as the grade of the books. But I want to finish that first 20 issues of Avengers and snag those 3 books.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, those are lofty goals for me. And they're not super expensive. I probably could get all 3 of them for $300 or $400, but like that's a lot of money. So you got to pace it out and kind of make sure you get the right copy at the right time.
Yep. Yeah, you're
And
right.
then yeah, and then the other book I'm hunting for is I'm 1 issue away from. I mentioned it at the beginning. I'm a Secret Wars nut. I love the original Secret Wars. It was my jam as
I
a
do too.
kid.
I really do.
I
Yeah,
have
that's awesome.
I have the original set that I bought as a kid that I've taken care of and love. And I had Mike Zeck and Jim Shooter sign the Doctor Doom cover one. I just
Very
love it.
cool. That is awesome.
Oh, I love that cover with Doom's like armor all shredded, and he's just like, yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
So I've gone back and I've now started getting them all in 9/8. I don't know how it started. I yeah, I like I don't know, 4 years ago, somebody was selling a Secret Wars 8 in a 9/8, and it was stupid cheap. It was like $100 shipped, and I was like, yeah,
Nice.
I'll take that, and I bought it.
Yeah.
And then later I was like, oh, I should get issue 1. That would be kind of cool. And I got that one for like $100, and then it just became a thing where I was like, which ones can I get? And I just would get one here or I'd get one there.
That
And
is
then of
really
course they
cool.
all started going up. They just went crazy high in price.
Yeah.
And I waited, and I've never paid really more than like $120 for any of them. Just little by little, get one here, get one there. Some of them you get for like $40. They're not keys.
Damn.
Nobody wants them. So I'm down to just 1 issue. I need issue 11, and then I'll have the whole thing.
Man, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get that.
Yeah, you too. That's amazing.
Is there a better look at Hack? Okay, Hack Hack is trolling me. You can tell the people that know me that they're like, let me get John ranting on something here. John, his question is, John, is there a better comic book story than The Killing Joke? Look, brother. We gotta have words. We're gonna have words about The Killing Joke here. I don't know. I don't hate The Killing Joke. I just don't like it very much. I'm not a huge fan of that story. The Joker, he's a little overdone. He's a little everywhere. And the truth is, I like my Joker with like no backstory. I like not knowing where he came from or his identity or his girlfriend or any of the stuff. So my preference is for a Joker with mystery. You don't know. You don't know where he came from. And I don't need The Killing Joke to spoil it for me, So that I I definitely don't love The Killing Joke. Sorry, buddy. It's not a bad story. It's just not it's not one of it's not even probably not even top 10 Batman stories for me. There's too many good Batman stories, man. There's like a million. I'm worried we're gonna lose Scotty again. I feel bad for him. You all right, man?
I'm so sorry about this whole
No,
internet
it's
thing
not.
tonight.
There's nothing you can't fight the weather. I've had 2 or 3 live streams in the last week that had this problem. It's not you.
But like I debated when it snowed, I was like, man, is it gonna work? Is it gonna go over well? And I got home and I tested everything out and everything was running fine. I got good.
Yeah. It's hard. You can't predict it. You can't predict what it'll do. Because I mean, we were gonna do a show. We canceled last Tuesday. We didn't do our Omni X-Men show because Justin was glitching on that show. And then we canceled the show right after it because we were gonna go on JP's channel to talk about Black Hammer. And we just canceled both. We were I think we're back. I'm still here.
Oh man, that's frustrating. Yeah,
It's
I'm
all
back.
right.
Well,
We're doing what we can. Now
yeah.
it's me too. Yeah, I was glitching a little too.
Try to power through it best we can, man. I apologize. What made you want to
Yeah.
start the
No.
when did you start the channel up?
Oh yeah. It's been. I think we're coming up on 6 years. I was right.
Dang.
I was the summer. It's funny. I was the summer after Bueller and Comic Tom and Reggie all kicked off their YouTubes, and I was like, I don't know, 6 years, 6 months after them. But it was all Bueller's fault. If you know, I've said it many times that like Bueller inspired me in a big way with his positivity and his curiosity and his attitude. And he did a
Yeah.
contest on his channel to win some prizes. But rather than do the typical, you know, what's your first comic or what, you know, what, you know, what's the best book you're reading right now, any of that, he was like, tell me about the music you listened to in high school.
Oh, that's cool.
He just went in a totally different direction, and I couldn't resist making a video about it. Like I was like, okay, I haven't done any comic videos on my YouTube channel. I had basically used it for my classroom. The first videos on my channel are almost exclusively like whale watching videos and stuff. Like I'd go out whale watching with my students. I'd shoot the video and I'd throw it up, and it was like, there you go. And then he convinced me to do this video, and I was like, I gotta get involved. And I had been in people's chats for months. I had been popping into Reggie's chats and Tom's chats and stuff. And in fact, I think by that point I was a moderator in like several of their channels because they were new channels and they're getting their trolls in there. And I was always like, yeah, I'll be your moderator, whatever. Sure, fine.
Cool.
I think I still am a moderator on their channels, but none of those guys really go live except for Reggie.
What
he's the best, dude. He's the best. And I got to finally meet him in MegaCon this year in Orlando, and
man,
he lives up to the hype, man. He's just a genuinely good person.
He really is. Yeah, I enjoyed meeting him. He definitely lived up to the hype. Really cool guy.
Sheena, what's up, Sheena?
Hey, Sheena. Hey. Just trying to power through this this live stream with the snow and everything else going on.
Right.
Going on
I think I still am. It's just none of them really do live. They're all over on Whatnot and stuff going live. I don't know that I'm on their channels as much. They're not doing the live streams.
Oh, hey, I wanted to ask you though, what was the song? What was your song?
Oh, so I talked all about Permanent Vacation, the album from Aerosmith.
Awesome.
I probably have all the lyrics for all the songs on that tape. It was a tape that I had memorized. I listened to those tapes a ton.
So you did those videos, you did the whale watching video, and it just kind of, when did the comics come into play? When did you start throwing the comic book stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I started thinking about like, I don't want to do this if it's taking a ton of time away from my family and my kids, and I don't want to do this just to be the same as everybody else. So like, what could I do that was a little different? And I had at that point, I had a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I thought, they love to read. They're super passionate readers. They're way above the norm for kids that read. And I was like, let's see what they want to say. So I started. The first couple edited videos I did, like I forced Kate to read Batman Year One. Probably traumatized her with Frank Miller too early. And then Charlie read The Wedding of Jean Grey and Scott in X-Men. Cool. Was that 25 or something?
Cool.
Or 30. And then we just shot little videos of them reacting to it and talking about it. And then we started every Saturday, and we were pretty consistent for about 3 or 4 years. Every Saturday morning at 8:30 Pacific, my time, I'd make bagels and they'd bring whatever they read that week. And we would just talk, whether it was a comic or a novel or, whatever they were reading, they would bring it. And we would just chat. We'd sit on the couch and chat away. Now they're teenagers. I have 2 teenagers, and they're a little more like, do I want to sit on the couch with my dad and talk about comics? My friends are going to make fun of me. They're in that vein a little bit more.
I get it. Yeah, I have a teenager myself, so I understand.
Rob, do you remember when Reggie would shoot videos like in his kitchen? Like he would do live streams on like the bar in the kitchen when he lived in, I think he was in San Francisco before he moved back east. Because he's in the Carolinas now, I think. But he he would make videos. He would use this big marble countertop, I want to say. It's hilarious. Or when Tom still shoots in his garage, but like he used to do live streams from this garage, and it would be so cold up in Seattle. They'd be in like jackets, you'd see their breath, and they're like they had to finally insulate the garage in the end. Right. Rob remembers that stuff early. I mean, heck, we would shoot in my living room. Christmas time, you get the tree in the background, and yeah. I don't really have a man cave. I always joked I've always had kind of a man corner. You know, I get one corner of this room is what I got.
Oh, so it's not. I always thought that you had like your own little.
I mean, hey, let's demystify here. Are you ready to see the whole rest of the room here?
I'm ready.
I mean, it's going to be shaky cam. It's going to be Blair Witch Project style here. So
that's okay.
So, what I have behind me here is just a desk. And, you know, I've got my comics and this is my corner with all my cool stuff. Community art. There's shop. I got the shop verse right there.
Yes.
I got Geeking Out with Roscoe. I got Zabroni right there. I got Kevin Vidinia, the Superpower Review champ, Karate Kevin. And then if I just turn, like there's Legos up top here, and my wife's like jewelry making business stuff is there. I got a couple of short boxes down here for my X-Men, and then the computer cabinet with the printer and stuff. More jewelry and more Legos in that corner. Student artwork I used to have behind me with the USA up there.
Oh.
And then this corner I got there's a mirror. Hey, how you doing? There's my light. There, you know, there's a couple of boxes and Legos and stuff. There's more. This is like sewing kits and stuff the girls use. This is their art stuff. So they've got like their art supplies and their pencils and glue and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, nice little art.
And then the best part about it for me is my table that I use is just a plank of wood that I have that's like from like a shelf. Yeah. And then short boxes are holding it up on either side. These are where I keep my slabs. So that's my desk.
Nice. I love it.
I made the desk out of short boxes and a bookshelf. That's it.
That was very cool, man. Yeah. Thanks for the tour, John. Thank you for the behind the scenes tour. That was awesome.
And if you look close, there's a bunch of, so I have my best friend growing up he's a graphic designer and he works for a company that makes custom cardboard boxes for companies. Like if you needed like to ship, you know, whatever thing you made in your Etsy store across the globe and you wanted a special box, he would design it. Right. So he makes, this is cardboard. This is my logo done out of cardboard.
That's here, cardboard? Right?
Yeah, that's cardboard. And then above it is an I Am Iron Man. He made that one too.
What?
Yeah. But he makes a ton of them. So like there's the state of California with Laguna Beach where we grew up together there.
Those are cool.
They're so cool, man. And then down there's R2D2 in the corner. You can kind of see an R2.
Yeah, I can see it.
He's covered up by several we were big Game of Thrones fans. And he even made like each house. You know, there's a dire wolf that says winter is coming. There's a Lannister lion that says hear my roar or whatever. So he makes these all the time. The girls had like Frozen ones and Star Wars ones in their bedrooms growing up. I love it.
Man,
it's like Donald Trump cool. Hey, you know, all you really need to, and this is true of anybody that wants to do live streams, YouTube, whatever, you just need a background and a little bit of lighting. The rest of it, nobody sees. Nobody sees what's on the other side. You know, we can demystify all we want, but it doesn't matter. You know, so it's just for me. Like I just want you want to put a little display behind you. So I used a desk and I just faced away from the desk, up into the room instead of the other way. It's college furniture. Yeah,
I never knew what the logo on the wall. I never knew what that was made out of. I always wondered about that.
Yeah, he's super talented. You know, graphic designers in general. Like my wife got her degree in the same subject, and they're really just super handy, creative, talented people who will do it themselves kind of people. And he and I nerded over comics as kids because he was dyslexic. and I loved comics, but he struggled to read. And for him, comics were a gateway, right? He could get into reading without having to see a giant page of moving letters.
Right.
He could see Spider-Man and study the story and then go back and try to read the panels where there was some writing going on. And
Okay. Yeah.
and we bonded over that a ton. To this day, whenever we hang out, I'm usually giving him a graphic novel of this or that, or he's loaning me this or that. He's like, oh, you got to read this series, whatever. So he, he doesn't have as much time. His kids are much younger than mine. I think he's got a baby and then like a 5-year-old. So I have a little more time because teenagers want nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So the little ones, they're on you all the time.
Yep.
Rob, graphic design definitely comes in handy when you're making content. Yes. My wife will just criticize basically she doesn't have the time to make any stuff for me. Colossus. What ends up happening is I show her what I made and she's like, wrong color, wrong font. You should do this, move this over here. She criticizes. Cinder blocks and a wooden spool for a coffee table. I mean, you're not far off. You're not far off.
What do you have? Oh, I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
No. I just think as a teacher, and it had a huge impact on me seeing my best friend struggling to read, and then have comic books be the thing that helped him with that.
No,
and
I think
I've
that's
always
pretty cool.
Yeah, and I've always had graphic novels in I taught 3rd grade for about 12 years, and I always had graphic novels in my classroom. So anytime, there was always something that kids could read, even if reading a traditional book was a challenge, and I think it's hugely important.
Man,
I think it gets overlooked.
I never think about that because I've just always been a really good reader. That was always my thing, I was always a really good reader, but that's pretty cool though, that it would be able to help people.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny, across this community, I think you'll hear that story from time to time where somebody says reading was hard. I didn't want to read. I didn't like reading, but comic books allowed me a way in,
Yeah.
I think you've been here longer than 6 years because Little Shack is 6. Oh, crud. Biggie. I hope not. Oh, scared me. It's called art direction. She's not critical of me. She's giving me art direction. All right. There you go. But Rob, did that come with like one of the futon beds? It's like a metal and it just like flips down and the mattress is the cushion.
So what do you got coming up on your channel? You got anything cool coming up on the Instagram or YouTube channel?
I always am dropping shorts as regularly as I can, and I use TikTok as my editing studio, so I shoot everything and edit them there, and I drop stuff there, but then I repost it to Instagram and to YouTube because I tend to find there's more traction on those algorithms for me.
Okay.
But I usually my shorts are focused on what I'm reading. So right now I just published like my favorite Marvel books of last year, my favorite indies, my favorite ongoing books. I'm about to do the DC ones, so I'll drop that probably tomorrow.
Awesome.
And before that I was doing, whatever omnis I was reading. So as I was reading Immortal Hulk, which I read through here in the fall, I was posting stuff on that. It's I finally finished it because I never went past issue 25, I think. So I loved that.
Good read. I enjoyed that run a lot.
And then in summer, I read Grant Morrison's new X-Men omnibus, and I did a bunch of shorts on that. And then I just finished for Sheena. I just finished Deadly Class and did all my shorts on Deadly Class. So I got to pick my next.
Yeah, those were very good. Yeah,
I got to pick my next omnibus. I think I'm going to go back and try to finish Sandman, which I've never finished. I've read volume 1. It's a 3 omnibus set, and I've got all of them. I loved volume 1 a ton, and then never got back around to reading 2 or 3.
Man, yeah. That sounds good. So that's going to be your next read.
I think that's going to be the next thing I read. That's a big, I've got other things I'm reading in between, but like as far as like the next omnibus I tackle will probably be that. And then of course every Tuesday, like tomorrow night, I'm on Justin's No Good Comics channel, and we're going to talk about That's the one right before this. But we're basically right in this era of Uncanny X-Men, John Romita Jr. era.
Sweet.
So we're doing 183 on Tuesday, but in a week on my channel, we'll do 184.
No Good Comics. He's a really cool guy. I like him.
It's, and his story is very fascinating. So I don't know if you know Justin at all, but like his dad is a comic book artist and a very talented one who drew a lot of Flash comics in the 80s and 90s.
I didn't know that.
His name is Greg LaRocque. And Greg LaRocque, he still goes to cons and signs stuff, mostly in the New England area. But he did some like Marvel team up issues and lots of really great stuff. And Justin grew up around it and was like, I don't want comics. It's my dad's work. So he didn't care for any of it. The dude was like total teenager with his parents aren't cool, right? And passed on all of it. And then found it in the last like 8 years. He discovered it. He started reading comics and started getting interested. And then he found YouTube and he started making content. And then he bought his very first omnibus. He's like, I'd never read an omnibus before. I never bought one. And I bought my first omnibus the same time. And we bought the same omnibus. Both of us got one of the Chris Claremont Uncanny X-Men omnibus, the very first one. And we messaged each other because we were starting to like chat a bunch. And then he was like, we should read it. And I was like, yeah, we should read it super slowly, one a week. And he's like, we should chart it. We should do shows on it. And then it became this thing where each week we would, get on and do an episode of the show, just breaking something down.
That's cool.
It was a lot of fun. And so now this is like it's almost 4 years of just doing, we're finishing the 4th season of this, where we're on the fourth of the omnibuses. So,
man, that's
but
awesome.
his story is fascinating because I don't even know the details as far as like what made him come back around to it. And I know he hasn't read a ton of his dad's stuff at this point. And when he told me that who his dad was, I went in. My girls have their own short boxes in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
And I went through because Charlie has a community member friend named Daymares. Adam is his name. Donate his best friend passed away, and he had a bunch of Flash comics. And my Adam was like, I don't know what to do with it, so he mailed them to us. It was like 2 huge boxes of like late 80s Flash. Wow. And we rebagged everything. We organized everything. And we put them in the short boxes. So I went through and I pulled out like 15 comics that Justin's dad worked on. all these great comics from the 80s and 90s. Yeah. And then I made this short where Charlie's like showing him up like a gangster. Like she's like, look, I got this one. I got that one. You don't have any of your dad's comics, but I've got all of your dad's comics. It's hilarious because I think he just chose to be ignorant of it, that willful ignorance of being a teenager and what your dad does isn't cool, No,
I never knew his story. I just I've been subscribed to him for a long time, but I didn't know that about him. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yes, it's funny. It's funny because he still, I don't think, has read much. I think he even bought a Flash omnibus just to have some of his dad's stuff in an omnibus, and he hasn't read it yet. It's cracking me up.
You normally also do your live streams on Saturday, which you mentioned earlier. You've been kind of busy, so you didn't get to do one this past Saturday,
right?
But you normally do the live streams on Saturday, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's usually it started with just like what are we reading, me and the girls, because we're all just super avid readers, and so every Saturday we'd sit around and just bust out whatever it was. For me, it was probably a lot of new comics, occasionally a novel that I was reading or whatever, and for them it was a massive variety of stuff, and I thought it was a fun insight into their interests, and it was a fun time capsule because I can go back now and see when they were 5 years, 6 years younger. And get a sense of kind of what their personalities were like in real time,
Yeah.
It was just a fun way to hang out. And And we've had a few guests from the community that stayed with us and then joined us on the stream. You know, Fire Guy Ryan came down and crashed with us for a weekend and sat on the couch. I even busted out the N64 and he was playing GoldenEye with the girls and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
GoldenEye.
So it's fun. Yeah. It's been a fun activity. And I like to think something that they'll hopefully look back on with a lot of nostalgia.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. Man, John, I really appreciate you hanging out. I do apologize. Like I said, I feel really bad that we got interrupted by the connection and everything.
Don't worry about it. The benefit to you is you can go back and watch this show again and be like, oh, there's whole portions of the show I didn't get to see. You know,
yeah,
stuff you missed out on. Oops, sorry, my cat's starting through.
No, but I really do. I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. It's been fun, even though I cut out. It was still fun. I had a good time talking to you. Definitely would love to have you come back. In the future,
anytime, man. You know it. Anytime.
Yeah, man.
TM John seems like a cool dude. Get out of here, TM.
If any of you guys are not subscribed, for subscribe, John's Comics with Kids. He has an on YouTube channel, also the same name. But I wanted to thank you guys for hanging out, for the connection and everything. Sorry, guys. Sorry, a little shake. Thank you for bearing with me and hanging out with us, and appreciate. And yeah, I think.
Oh, Matt, you're slaying me. Your chat is great. These guys are hilarious, man. I love it. You can't tell on YouTube how tall somebody is, Matt. It's all a mystery, right? It's all a mystery. Bueller is the biggest giant in our YouTube that I've met. I think Bueller is he's a beast. He's a big guy. I'm 6'2". I like to say I'm in between 6'2" and 6'3". But I'm on the down spiral of that, right? I'm losing the height, not gaining it. I'm not gonna. What's the Hobbit saying? I'm not gonna grow much more except sideways. Right? Bueller's a giant. No, Bueller's a beast. He is absolutely enormous.
All right.
Just when you were trying to sign out.
Just when I was trying to sign out, man. John, thank you. I won't keep you any longer, man.
No worries,
thanks,
man.
Guys. Thank you all. You got anything else that you wanted to add, John, before we go?
No. I appreciate you making the time and letting me come on and chat it up. And like he was showing at the beginning, remember, there's a lot of other shows going on tonight. So make sure you're jumping to the next stream.
Yes, Monday Night Lineup Between the Lines is going on right now over at Geek Out with Roscoe's channel. So y'all be sure.
But you don't need to rush because they spend about 20 minutes just talking about hot dogs in the chat. So you got plenty of time. There's zero rush.
I'll leave you guys how we always do with some Biggie Shack. Be back Monday with Rob's Fat Stacks. Later, guys.
I'd say that one is a banger, man. It's a real certified banger, dude.